Hello, and welcome to our build guide for the newest melee autobomber character. The new Rage Vortex of Berserking fundamentally changes the way this skill works. When used, it will attach a spinning Rage Vortex to your character, dealing attack damage to all nearby enemies, and drain your rage at an accelerating rate. Exerting this attack affects its whole duration. The ambush is a particularly strong skill to pair with Rage Vortex. It is a quick dash that adds up to 35% base critical strike chance to your next attack. It will very easily cap your critical strike chance with minimal investments. The regular global buffs like Ancestral Totems or Phase Run will apply dynamically during their duration. To make this playstyle comfortable, you will have to find a way to consistently and reliably regenerate rage to fuel your vortex. The most popular method is to use the Red Blade banner and the Berserker Ascendancy to gain maximum rage every time you use a Warcry while being below 25 rage. It is great to start the loop, but can be quite annoying to constantly monitor your rage. You should incorporate other ways to gain rage, such as the Chainbreaker Keystone, Chaos Spirit Gloves, the combination of Shackles of the Wretched and Chains of Emancipation, or a secondary setup with the Cleave of Rage. The rage is used to fuel the Rage Vortex, but it also provides very potent bonuses for your attack damage. You can use the Warcry to prolong your existing vortex a few times, but you will quickly lose rage at that point, so it is usually better to simply recast it to have all bonuses again. It is a moderately durable build. You will have plenty of armor rating, fortify, and life recovery from your life leech, but as a berserk you inherently take 10% more damage. The lack of spell suppression can also be noticeable. This build has amazing clear speed thanks to the automatic damage and great movement speed. The damage against bosses is good enough, but it lacks proper scaling. You can swap in the regular Rage Vortex for hard encounters since it gains additional damage for spending your rage. The Red Blade banner is the only unique item required for this build functionality. The performance is tied to the quality of rare items you get. There are a few unique items you can use to generate rage. The most obvious one and easiest to get is the Red Blade banner. The Merry-Lens Fallacy is very powerful for this setup, as the ambush easily negates the critical strike penalty of this item. It is recommended to have at least one additional setup to regenerate rage. Red Blade banner is a shield that grants the maximum power for all your Warcry effects, and reduces their cooldown. You will be able to regain all your rage with one Warcry if you use it below 25 rage, and use them more often. Lethal Pride converts nearby keystones into special ones. You should get one that grants the Chainbreaker Keystone, which converts your mana regeneration into rage, but adds a rage cost to all your skills. With just the Clarity Aura and mana regeneration bonuses on your rings you will regenerate 6 rage per second. Chaos Spirit Gloves are another way to generate rage, although after the nerf it is quite hard to achieve meaningful numbers. They shouldn't be used as the only source of rage, but you can use them as an addition to the Chainbreaker Keystone to further boost up the passive generation. The Chains of Emancipation are an entirely different way to generate rage. This setup requires 2 unique items and a more active playstyle, but you won't need any other source of rage. Anytime you lose the Temporal Chains effect you will regain all your rage and become immune to all curses, so you won't be able to gain Temporal Chains again until you drop below 25 rage. All hexes socketed here will be reflected back to you. By socketing a Hextouch setup with the Temporal Chains and Punishment curses while having a limit of only one curse, you will simultaneously apply the Temporal Chain curse and override it with the Punishment curse, which will refill your rage. By refiling your rage you will also become immune to all curses, so the punishment will be removed too. This amulet significantly decreases your critical strike chance, but grants insane amounts of crit multiplier, and adds the culling effect. Thanks to the ambush, you will have an easy time capping your critical strike chance anyway. You can use the catalyst to boost the critical strike multiplier, but it will also increase the crit penalty. The Loraweave is a very good armor for this build. It grants you a bit of everything in every aspect of the build. Try to get one with the highest maximum resistances, other modifiers aren't as impactful. You will have no problems reaching 400 strength with this build, so you should use this belt to greatly increase your damage and flask sustain. You should buy one with a useful corrupted implicit, such as elemental resistances or crit multiplier. This jewel can have very powerful bonuses for your attacks while you are affected by precision. It can be quite expensive if you search for more synergistic modifiers at once. The rare gear you aim for is rather usual. It should provide you with maximum life, resistance, critical strike multiplier, or bonuses to your attacks. You will also need plenty of attributes on your gear to fulfill gem requirements. If you use the Chainbreaker Keystone, you will additionally need mana regeneration rate on your rings. Try to get the Psychotic Axe for the maximum rage bonus, but the regular axes are also good. Simply look for the highest physical DPS you can find. If you craft the hit can't be evaded modifier, you could skip all the investments into accuracy rating. Here you can focus fully on defensive aspects, such as maximum life, resistance, or life regeneration. You can also get plenty of accuracy rating or attributes. You can get a bit of mana regeneration here too, but it will be very hard to mix with other good modifiers. On your rare boots you should look for defensive bonuses like maximum life and resistance. It should also provide a decent amount of movement speed and other movement buffs, such as onslaught on kill, tailwind, or elusive. You can get a lot of ailment avoidances here too. On your gloves, you should aim for high attack speed and damage bonuses, but don't forget about the usual maximum life and resistance. The rage regeneration from the Eldritch Implicit can be useful too. You don't need the usual intimidation chance since you can get that modifier from Axe Mastery. When buying rings you should look for additional physical damage to your attack's critical strike multiplier, minimum frenzy charges, maximum life, and resistance. They should also increase your mana regeneration rate if you use the Chainbreaker Keystone by at least 50%. Try to get lacking resistances or attributes if you can't get them on your regular gear pieces. Other than that, look for maximum life, critical strike multiplier, accuracy rating, and attack speed. You can also get a bit of mana reservation efficiency if you lack it on your helmet. Cluster jewels are a great way to get a source of life and mana leech. You will also gain 2 regular jewel sockets and some bonuses to damage. The run-through notable is very strong if you still don't have a 100% chance to impale on hit. The Bottled Faith is the best offensive flask for this build. The extra critical strike chance can be useful, but it is not as good as the extra damage against enemies on consecrated ground it provides. You should enchant it to be used when you hit a rare enemy. The other magic flasks we recommend for this build are Quartz Flask with attack speed bonus, Granite Flask with armor rating bonus, Life Flask with bleeding removal, and a Quicksilver Flask with movement speed bonus. Rage Vortex rapidly spins your weapon around you, dealing attack damage to nearby enemies, and draining your rage at an accelerating rate until it's fully depleted. The rage support helps a bit with rage sustain, but it is not enough on its own. Don't forget to upgrade gems to their awakened versions later on. The Determination Aura helps reduce the incoming physical damage by adding a lot of armor rating and improving it further. Blood and Sand changes your stance to grant you area damage or radius depending on the stance you are in. You should pick your stance before you cast the Rage Vortex. Herald of Purity slightly improves the physical damage you deal and summons helpful minions that can take the attention of your enemies. Precision improves your accuracy rating and critical strike chance. It reserves a flat amount of mana based on the gem level. War Banner makes enemies more vulnerable to physical damage and improves your accuracy ratings. You can also use the Dread Banner if you lack the chance to impale. The Enlightened support is unnecessary for this setup. Clarity grants you a bit of flat mana regeneration, which you can convert into rage regeneration with the Chainbreaker Keystone. The Arrogance increases the effect of supported aura, but causes it to reserve life instead of mana. Clarity would reserve a large amount of your mana, but only a small percentage of your life. Ambush performs a swift dash to a nearby enemy that exerts your first attack, greatly improving its base critical strike chance and multiplier. You should always use this skill before casting the Rage Vortex. Additional quality further increases the base critical strike chance you get. It may be unnecessary if you have enough critical strike chance anyway. Ancestral Protector summons a totem that attacks nearby enemies and greatly improves your attack speed while you are nearby. Ancestral Warchief is another very important totem. This one further improves your melee damage. You can use the Vol version to gain an even stronger buff. You will need the multiple totem support to exceed the usual totem limit. If you have sockets to spare, you can include utility support such as Culling Strike, Maim, or Blind. Use the Leap Slam skill to cross terrain gaps or engage enemies. Don't spam it if you have the Chainbreaker Keystone allocated, as it will quickly drain your rage. Vulnerability is a powerful curse that increases the physical damage enemies take from all sources. You could also use the Poacher Mark instead for better sustain and frenzy charge generation. Phase Run consumes your frenzy charges to gain a buff that significantly improves your movement speed and melee damage, as well as grants you phasing. It will improve the damage of your existing Rage Vortex during its short duration. General's Cry is a war cry with the lowest cooldown. Use it while on low rage to regain maximum rage. You could also use the Enduring War Cry instead to generate endurance charges and regenerate life. Blood Rage is a buff that consumes your life as a physical damage over time effect, but grants you attack speed, life leech, and generates frenzy charges on kill. Killing all bandits for 2 additional passive points is the best option, but Alira is also a quite good option as you can make use of the additional mana regen she grants. As the major Pantheon power you should pick up the Soul of Arakali. It grants you additional defense against damage over time effects. The minor Pantheon power should also be focused on mitigating the damage over time effect. The Soul of Shikari is the best option here. The rage generation during leveling is too ineffective to use this setup at first. The Red Blade Banner Shield can be equipped at level 35, at which point you should have your first ascendancy. The new Cleave of Rage is also a great option to supplement your damage and rage. All passives on the tree that grant a critical strike multiplier also grant a bit of crit chance, which will be enough to reach 100% crit chance when using the ambush to exert your Rage Vortex. The passive tree also provides plenty of maximum life and damage bonuses for axe attacks. The axe-specific notables grant you chance to inflict intimidation on enemies, which increases the damage they take from your attacks. It also grants you a chance to gain onslaught on kill, which is very useful to improve your clear speed. You will gain a total of 15 increased maximum rage from the passive tree. The mana flow is the only reasonable notable to pick up to improve your mana regen. You can also increase your maximum mana with your items to increase the base mana regeneration. The Chainbreaker Keystone grants you additional rage for every 25 mana regen you have, so make sure to hit those breakpoints before making additional investments. The Lethal Pride covers only one notable in its radius. Make sure it is the Akoya variant to grant the Chainbreaker Keystone. We hope you enjoyed today's guide. If you want to see more of our work, please consider leaving a like or subscribing to the channel. Have a good day, and see you next time.